Dear student, now we are going to discuss about blood vessels. There are three types of blood vessels are there: arteries, veins and capillaries. Arteries. Artery is a type of blood vessel which carries pure blood from heart to various organs of the body. It carries pure blood or oxygenated blood from heart to various organs of the body called arteries. Next one is vein. Vein collect the impure blood from different organs to the heart. Different organs to the heart. Here heart to other organs, here other organs to the heart, called veins. Next one is capillaries. The artery is divided into smaller and smaller blood vessels, bring the blood in contact with all individual cells, called capillaries. This is a diagram. This is artery and this is a vein. The arteries are divided into smaller and smaller branches called blood capillaries. The blood capillaries only connect each and every cells of our body, called blood capillaries. Next, differentiate between the arteries and veins. Differentiate between the arteries and veins. First one, arteries. Arteries which carries the blood from heart to the various organs. Veins which carries the blood from various organs to the heart. Here the blood flow is under pressure. The blood flow is under pressure because from the arteries blood circulates very fast, rapidly, so that there are much pressure in the arteries. In veins there is a pressure but not much than the artery. So here little pressure. The wall is thick and elastic. The arteries have a thick wall because there is a high blood pressure, no? So under the high blood pressure the artery should not damage, so that here thick wall is there. But in veins usually less pressure, so there is no thick wall. Instead of the thick wall, thin wall is there and less elastic. Next, carries oxygenated blood except pulmonary arteries. Arteries carries oxygenated blood except pulmonary arteries. Okay, the pulmonary arteries carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs. Vein carries deoxygenated blood except pulmonary vein. Here vein carries usually deoxygenated blood, but pulmonary vein collect oxygenated blood from lungs to the heart. It is a deep sheeted. Arteries present in deep sheeted. Deep sheeted means under the skin, deeply it is placed. But vein is a superficial. Superficial means easily it is above the it is easily visible. Okay. Now we are going to discuss about oxygen enter the blood in the lungs. Generally we know human have four chamber heart. They are right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. Like that we have a four chamber heart. This right side and left side of the heart helps. The right side and left side of the heart helps to keep separate the oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood from mixing. Now, what is oxygenated blood? The blood contains oxygen, called oxygenated blood. This is also called pure blood. And deoxygenated blood, the blood contains carbon dioxide. This is also called impure blood. So for separation of the oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood, we have a four chambers heart. Okay. So what is the use of the oxygenated blood? The oxygenated blood contains more energy. The energy is used constantly by the birds and mammals. So what is the use of energy? For performing activities and also to maintain the body temperature of the animals, to maintain the body temperature of the animals need energy. The energy is rich in oxygenated blood only, so that we need oxygen rich blood. Okay, so in birds and mammals need energy, then only maintain their body temperature. So it is not common for all the animals. Some animals are there. The animals do not use constant energy for the purpose. Okay, what purpose? To maintain the body temperature. Then how these animals maintain body temperature? The animals maintain the body temperature according to their environmental temperature. According to the environment temperature, animals can change the body temperature or maintain the body temperature. Okay, now we can see some examples. First example, amphibians. Amphibian means animals live water and land, like that animal called amphibians. Example, frog. Okay, the frog only have three chambers. The frog only have three chambers. The three chambers are one ventricle, two atria. One ventricle, two atria. So three chamber heart is present in the frog. How many chambers we have? Four chambers, but in amphibians, three chambers. And another one example, reptiles. Reptiles example, snakes and lizard, etc. So reptiles also having three chambers in their heart. One ventricle, two atria. One ventricle, two atria present in the reptiles. Crocodile also is a type of reptile. Crocodile is a type of reptile, but except crocodile, other reptile have a three chamber, but crocodile having four chamber heart like mammals. Okay, here only three chambers are there. There is a possibility to mix oxygenated and deoxygenated blood, but these animals can tolerate it. These animals can tolerate it, mixing of blood. Okay, fish is another example. The fish having two chamber heart. Fish having two chamber heart. What are they? An atrium and a ventricle. An atrium and a ventricle. The blood is bumped. The blood is bumped to the gills. It is oxygenated there. Where? From the gills. The gills contain lot of gills capillaries. Through the gills capillaries, the blood is passes directly to rest of the body. Okay. Single circulation. In fish, there is a single circulation occurs. Now, what is single circulation? Blood goes only once through the heart in the fish during one cycle of passage through the body. So during the cycle, only one time blood enters into the heart. This type of circulation is called a single circulation. Example, fish. Next one, double circulation. What is a double circulation? Blood goes through the heart twice during each cycle. What for entering through two times? One time for oxygenation, another one time for the deoxygenation. Example, mammals. This is a schematic representation of single and a double circulation. Single circulation fish. Here only two chambers are there in the heart. One ventricle and one atrium. Blood is pumped through the heart. The blood is traveling to the gills. Okay, so the gills only there is a oxygenation occurs, which carries oxygen and it is converted into the oxygenated blood and travels to the rest of the body. So for only a single time the blood is entering into the heart. This is called single circulation. This is a schematic representation for the double circulation. Double circulation example, mammals. Here four chamber heart is there. Here only two chambers. Here right atrium, right ventricle. left atrium, left ventricle, like that. There are 4 chambers and it is divided into right side and left side, like that it is divided. Now here this is a deoxygenated blood, this blue colorfully deoxygenated blood. This side it travels oxygenated blood from the heart is deoxygenated, is bumped to the lungs, okay, which carry the carbon dioxide and drop and gases exchange into the lungs. In the lungs there are arteries are there called lung capillaries. Here there is a gases exchange occurs and it is converted into a oxygenated blood. Then it oxygenated blood is traveling into the heart. Then heart is pumping the blood and the oxygenated blood is traveling to all the part of the body through the arteries and blood capillaries. Next topic, maintenance by platelets, blood clotting. What happens if blood tube develops a leak? When we get injuries, what will happen? There is a bleeding. Leakage would lead to a loss of pressure, which would reduce the efficiency of the pumping system. When we get a injury, no, there is a bleeding. When there is a bleeding, no, there is a less pressure occurs in the vessels. So what will happen? This less pressure, it reduces the efficiency of the pumping system. The pumping system, there will get a low pressure, so there won't be a sufficient amount of pumping. Okay, so this problem will be rectified by a cell. The cell is called blood platelets, which is present around the body. These blood platelets only help to the blood clot. How blood will clot? The blood platelets plug these leakages where the injuries occurs. There the blood platelet will plug the injuries. So what will happen? There is a stoppage of the blood. Okay, this is done by blood platelets. This is a structure of blood platelets. This is a structure of the blood platelets. Okay, next there is a schematic representation diagram. This is a normal blood pressure. Normal blood pressure, blood is transport. Here RBC is there and blood platelets, this white color, this call it as a blood platelets. When there is a injury, when there is a injury in the blood vessel, suddenly what happened? There is a bleeding. So there is a bleeding. So what will happen inside the blood vessel? Pressure will reduce. The reducing the pressure will affect the pumping system. So what will happen? Suddenly inside the blood vessel, the blood platelets are formed together, and it is plug the injuries. So what will happen? There is a stoppage of bleeding. For this, there is a protein is helping. Fibrin is a type of protein. It is helping for the blood clot. Next topic, lymph or tissue fluid. Lymph or tissue fluid. Lymph is another type of fluid, also involved in transportation. Like blood, lymph also involved in the transportation. It is colorless or pale yellow color. It is a colorless or pale yellow color. Lymph does not contain RBCs and blood platelets. It is absent, which is present in the blood. Lymph, the flow of lymph is very slow. The pores present in the wall of capillaries. What is pore? Small holes are present where? In the wall of capillaries. From the pores, some amount of plasma, less protein and blood cells are escape. Where? From the capillaries. These plasma, less protein and blood cells are escape into intercellular spaces. What is intercellular spaces? The space between the cells called intercellular spaces. So the tissues to form the tissue fluid or lymph. The fluid is called as a tissue fluid or lymph. The lymph drains into lymphatic capillaries. Lymph drains into lymphatic capillaries. What is lymphatic capillaries? Which carries the carries only the lymph, called lymphatic capillaries. From intercellular spaces, the intercellular spaces only the lymph is present. No, from the intercellular spaces the capillaries carries the lymph, called lymphatic capillaries, which is joined to form a large lymph vessel. The small lymphatic capillaries are divided into minute branches. Okay, and it is formed a large lymph vessel. Finally, that open into large vein. Lymph carries digested and absorbed fat. Lymph carries digested and absorbed fat from the intestine and drains excess fluid from extracellular space back into the blood. Okay, so 90% of the lymph is again back to the blood. Remaining 10% of the lymph are again is carried by the lymphatic capillaries. Okay, so this is generally called as a middleman. Okay, why it is called a middleman? It is present between the blood and the tissues. The lymph present between the tissues and blood. So this is called middleman. Okay, this is a diagram. It's a diagram. It's a enlarged portion. Okay, here arteries and veins. These arteries have a small opening. The arteries have a small opening. That means the capillaries, the arteries are divided into smaller branches. No, call it as a capillaries. From the capillary, there is a small opening. So through this opening, the lymph is travel where? To the intercellular spaces. What is intercellular spaces? This is a cell. This is a cell. Cells are there. Between the cell, the small gap, the space is there. No, this space called it as a intercellular space. So from the blood capillaries, the lymph is traveling to between the intercellular space. Okay, so that this is called a interstitial fluid. Interstitial fluid present between the cells called interstitial fluid. Okay, and this is a lymphatic capillary which is carries only the lymph. It is carries only the lymph. Okay, so after later 90% of the limbs again is back to the blood. 90% of the lymph back to the blood. Remaining 10% is no, again it is enter into the lymphatic capillary which only travels a lymph. Okay, this is a enlarged portion of the lymphatic vessel. Enlarged portion is the lymphatic vessel. It's a blood vessel. Okay, now differentiate between blood and lymph. Both are called transportation system. Okay, but there are some difference. Okay, first one, blood is reddish in color. Lymph is a colorless or pale yellow in color. Okay, it contains RBC. That's why it is red in color. The lymph do not contain RBC, so that it is colorless. Blood platelets are present. Blood platelets are present. Here, blood platelet absent. Blood platelet absent. Blood flow rapidly. Blood flow rapidly. Flow of lymph is slow. Flow of lymph is very slow. It is the main transport medium of the different materials in the body. It is main transport medium of the different materials in the body. This only carries nutrients, oxygens, hormones and some other substances are carried by blood. So it is a major transporter. So lymph also called transport but not major, because this also carries a plasma, some blood platelets, less amount of protein and fat. These also carry to each and every cell, no. So this is also is a transport medium but not major one. The blood only is a major transport medium. It function as a middleman. It is act as a middleman because it is between the blood and tissues. It is present between the blood and tissues. So that it is called it as a middleman.